Good morning. Welcome to another edition of the Bureau of Technology Report. Today we're going to talk about... All right, welcome. This is part 2. You are going to be able to design your car. How do we do that? Well, it's pretty easy. Over here on the right-hand side in the sprites, with the sprite container, right now I've already deleted the cat sprite, so we're good to go there. We need to create our own car sprite. How do we do that? Simple and easy. Down here, choosing a sprite, go up and hit the paintbrush. Now, this is my design area. So in here, what I'm going to do is draw my car. I'm going to use the square or the rectangle, whatever, and draw my car. Now, you'll notice this little plus sign right here in the middle. When I click and hold, it highlights the anchor sign at the base. So when you're designing this, those two need to line up. There's a reason why. It's very simple. When you want your sprite to turn, it's going to use this point right here to turn. I'll show you in a little bit what I mean when we change it and we can modify it. Now, you'll see that the size of my car right here is this big, and over here on the sprite, in the stage, it's the same size. I can make it smaller here, and it'll reduce the size over here, or I can change size here later on. We'll get to that in a second. Let's finish up drawing the car. So I'm going to put some tires on it, okay? First thing first, we got to change color of the car from blue to something else. So we'll make it yellow. And then I'm going to make the tires, we'll make those red. Okay? So now we're good to go. So now I got tires. Now, instead of having to redraw this, all I'm going to do is copy it and paste it. Control-C and Control-V. And then just try to line it up. Control-V, grab it, line my square up with the edge. Good to go there. Control-V. Again, try to line it up with the edge. And now I have a car with 4 wheels. It's that simple. It doesn't have to be pretty. You can make it as pretty as you want. You don't have to. This is good. Okay. Now, I want to make this car smaller. So the first thing I want to do is select everything. So I make sure that I've got my selection tool on. I click and hold and drag over the top of it. And I'm going to group the object together so it's all one piece now. So now I'm going to make this smaller. Okay, I want to make sure that I can fit it on my track. So it's going to have to be small. Okay, now I can go over here to the stage area and move my car. That's the easy part. Now you'll notice my plus sign is away from my anchor point. Now, if I go into my code real quick and do a move command or a turn command, I say move and then turn, or just turn. And I click on it, you see how the car is trying to turn? It's turning on my anchor point. Let's show you again. Okay? Remember how I talked about the anchor point, right? Now, let me change it. So I come back here and I take the car and I put the plus sign on top of the anchor, that my center point is now the turning point. So when I go back to my code and I click on turn, you'll notice it's clicking on the middle of the object. So that can be very useful and very helpful later on as you are creating your car and wanting it to do weird or different things, not to mention as you're creating different projects, okay? So you've got your car built, you have your track built. Now we need to get the vehicle or the car to move, the sprite. How do we do that? Well, as you see here, I've got a move command. If I click on this, it's going to make the car go 10 steps at a time. And you'll notice that car was going the wrong way. I want it to go that way. So you'll notice now that it's going kind of on an angle. I always want to get it to start going 90 straight across, okay? So what I'm going to use is what we call a point 90 degrees. And then I click. Now the car is lined up straight. Now I can put this back up here. Click on this, and there it goes. Car is running beautifully. Okay, but the only problem is now I have to click it to make it do that. We want to keep it moving. How do we do that? Well, that's our coding sequence, which we're going to jump into right now. We're going to code this to make it work. Now, there's a couple ways of handling this. First thing first, I always want to have an on-click event. As you progress and get a little bit better in your coding experience, you can switch up and use one of the other on-click events to start this. But for now, we're just going to use the flag event as my on-click event to start the program and get it moving. I'm going to place these two blocks together. So right now, it's going to point. When I click start, it only moves 10 steps. What I want to do is get it to go continuously. Okay? How do I do that? Well, I can use either a repeat or I can use a forever. A repeat will only do this 10 times. So when I click start, boom, it only goes 10 and stops. That's it. If I use forever, though, it will go until I stop the program or it runs into the wall and can't go anywhere. Okay? It's like the tires will still be turning, but it won't be going anywhere. So now what we've got to do is say, okay, we got to be able to turn it once it gets to this component or this corner where it'll turn. How do we do that? Well, this is where we started adding in our turn commands. So I've got to turn one way, and I want to use the turn opposite way. Now you can choose which buttons you want to use on the keyboard to make that happen. But the easiest way to do it is use a right or left, up or down, A and B, A and D, A, W, S and D, whatever keys you're comfortable clicking on. You go to there, and then you can simply say when spacebar, up arrow, I'm going to say the down arrow for the right, okay? And then I'm going to copy this, get rid of that one, place this one. I'm going to say the up arrow or left and right, either one, it doesn't matter. So let's go right arrow and then left arrow. So now if I were to click this, there, it only turns one time. So when I click, now I can slow the speed down of the car by changing its number of steps. I'm gonna bring it down to 3. Okay? So now when I click start, it's back down here again. We don't want it down there. We want it always to start back up here. How do I do that? We'll go back to your motion command, and we're going to use what's called a go-to block. And what this does is it places your sprite at this location on the screen every time. So when I put this right here, I'm going to put it outside the forever loop, because if I put it inside it, it would always try to keep putting it back to this same location. I only want it to happen once and then let it loop and do what it's supposed to do. So now it clicks, there we go. That's better. So now I can make a turn, and there's my car cruising around the track, and I'm able to turn it with my left and right arrows. Okay, you can hear me hitting the keyboard as I'm passing by. Boom. And that takes care of your creating your car, creating the code to get it to move around the track. Good luck.